Welcome to a Friday version of the Husker247 Daily, 10 minutes of Husker talk at 10 a.m. I'm Michael Bruntz, Brian Christopherson over there. We are a little more than 24 hours away from Nebraska's home opener with Akron under the lights at Memorial Stadium. Brian, happy Friday, first off.
Yeah, happy light show eve. There'll be a light show tomorrow, it seems.
Is it the drone show? Is that what we're
Yeah,
getting?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I would say that. I don't know that for sure, but Rule was hopeful about it. He asked Matt Rule sounded like a youngster on Christmas Eve. He looked over to Susan Elza, said, "There's the light show, right?" And so I think it'll be there.
He's probably just looking for reasons to stick around past the third quarter, like everybody else, I'm
Oh,
guessing.
we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully. Let's get into that. I mean, I have no natural segue from that, but the coaching cliche: your biggest gains are made between week 1 and week 2, and here we are. Brian Christopherson, which three phases of the three phases of the game, which does Nebraska make the biggest jump in against Akron?
Ooh. I'm going to say offense. And now, in respect to Akron, they did give up some yards in their opener, but they held Wyoming to 10 points. Lost that game 10-0 in their first week. So their defensive side of the ball was actually good from a points allowed setup. However, I do think Dana's challenge to the boys to keep their feet, to make some guys miss, is going to come to fruition, and you're going to see a little bit more of that in this game. Also, if I can go over to the other sides of the ball real quick, I think special teams would have to do something really spectacular, like return a kick all the way or block a kick and bring it back for it to be considered a major jump. They definitely have progress to make, but I think that would have to happen. And on the other side, the defense, they're going to be held to the bar of Wyoming shut these guys out the last week, so there's that. However, I don't want to say those can't be answers because that might be your answer. But I'm going to say offense because I just think, they had 4.5 yards per play, 20 points last week. Obviously, this is lesser competition, you would think. So you'd like to see them in the 40s. You'd like to see the backups, running backs, and receivers making plays. And it'd be one of those games where there's confidence built not only from your first team, but also your second and third team guys.
The rules of podcast engagement dictate that I choose a different answer from you, so I'll go with the defensive side of the ball. I think this is a kind of a get right game for the front seven. I mean, we had the narrative talk all off season. The narrative looked somewhat at times to be reality against Cincinnati, especially with the defensive line and not kind of making those disruptive plays. I think they get more disruptive plays. I mean, the Brendan Sorsby was a different level of athlete than what they're going to face this week against Akron, even though their quarterback can get out and run a little bit. But I do think that's a group that can really benefit from what happened against Cincinnati and show that on the field on Saturday against Akron. I think it's going to be really important for them to get some pressure. I think the secondary can actually help them in that regard. I mean, I think they're a group that can really cover and get a little bit more time for that front seven to get after the quarterback. And I think John Butler, kind of getting to see what this defense looks like under the lights is going to be able to call things a little bit differently to, find spots to bring more pressure, maybe commit an extra defensive lineman to the line of scrimmage if you need to. So I think that group is going to look a little bit more polished on Saturday against Akron. So lots of improvement. I mean, as much as you feel good about being 1-0, there was lots to work on this week in practice. So we'll see what that looks like on Saturday against Akron. Also, first home game means first kind of big-ish recruiting weekend for Nebraska. They're going to be hosting a lot of unofficial visitors, a few commits in the 27 class. Also, the 26 class are going to be there. Kind of just a big picture question, not really focused on the weekend, though, Brian. What do you kind of make of Nebraska's efforts on the recruiting trail, not only in the 26 class, but also beyond? I mean, you were at the 7-on-7 event in June. That was a big deal that got a lot of attention around the country. You see Matt Rule doing the the videos, the walk-in chats. He's got the podcast now. What do you kind of make of just the overall kind of picture of Nebraska's recruiting efforts here in getting the 2025 season going?
I think they truly are ahead from a foundation standpoint of where they were the previous 2 years, with like not just 27 guys, but also 28. And Rule mentioned like they go up to like 20, 30 of guys who are actually going to be on the sideline on Saturday. I 29. I don't know how that works, but they definitely have made inroads, I think, with some guys, not just top rated players, but prospects that they really dialed in on that they think are good for this program. They've never been, I think, a coaching staff that just like looks at what the recruiting rankings are and goes makes offers off of that. They trust their own evals. But there are those type of guys who are highly rated by us there too. You know, your Albert Simeons and those type of guys, and Quelly Fielder, and that's a pretty big deal to get them in for a game like this. Those were guys who were here in June. They saw the place. They saw that Lincoln's all about football. They love that. And I think the fact that the facility is up now, Bruntz, and they can actually walk through it. You know, people used to walk through it with hard hats, but Rule will always make the point that doesn't leave the impression people think it does. It has to be a completed, polished product, and then recruits really get excited about it. And so they've got all that sort of working for them. And now the next part of this is just you've got to go win nine or so games, 9+ games, you know, do it on the field. But I like the fact that he's doing all these extra things because it kind of dawned on me. I flipped on Netflix the other day, and SEC's got their deal going, you know, like their docuseries taking you through the season. And of course, you know what you're going to get right off the bat. It's like there ain't anything like walking into this fire, you know, like the SEC kind of stuff. It's like, all right. And I do think
at Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah, exactly. I do think Rule and staff are very cognizant of the fact like football is as big here as it is there. People care as much about winning and losing and dissect every piece of this as they do in those parts. And it's worth showing that off. And it's worth you know, going on McAfee's show, and which he pointed out is like connected to ESPN, which is more SEC linked, and you have a Big Ten voice on there. And then you do things on the field where you're talking to guys who maybe aren't from the Midwest or are from Miami or something who are having success, whether that's like a Ja'Cory Barney or Shavers or whoever you talk to. They can speak to how it's different here from maybe where they grew up, but it's a good different, and they like it. And so I think that's all useful in a kind of a savvy way. You got to do it in this day and age. What do you think?
Well, he's playing to his strengths too. I mean, like Matt Rule is good behind the microphone. Like that's, you know, I think what really helps is it's like, you know, when he's walking off a practice field, you know, talking to a player or whatever. I mean, he is very authentic. Like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of coaches, I think, that could do that and come across as just natural and comfortable. I mean, you can probably go down the line, even in the SEC, there's a lot of coaches that would do something like that, and it would feel very forced and not at all authentic. And I think recruits can see through that, to be honest. So I like that they're trying different things. I like the kind of bigger event things they did this summer. I think your point about the facility finally being done and being able to show that off as it is every day, I think is huge. You know, and just kind of painting a picture for what life is like in Lincoln, because, you know, every recruit ever has said, oh, I thought it was just going to be cornfields. But I mean, that's where you're spending your time, is in this giant facility that has every bell and whistle you could ever want. And being able to see that's huge. So you know, the big piece of it, like you said, can you get to 9 wins? Can you get to 10 wins and really kind of get it going on the field too, to match up with everything you've got going off the field? But I do think, you know, they've really done a nice job of kind of setting the table for the 27 and 28 classes, if they can also back that up on the field as well.
Yeah, and the 7v7 thing was such a big deal too. I think some top 7v7 squads were here, and they're going to come back from what I've heard, or they want to come back if there's another event. And so, you like Ahmad Hudson was like a star in that event, and he's getting written about like it was a game, here by the local press and stuff. And so I think guys see that and they're like, man, that's pretty cool. You're kind of a rock star there, even in the summer stuff that they're doing. So that leaves an impression.
All right, that's our 10-minute warning. The hay's pretty much in the barn for the home opener against Akron. We'll have plenty on Husker247 from the game, recruiting reaction. Make sure to get to the site for everything there. For Brian Christopherson and Michael Bruntz, we'll be back with more Husker247 Daily podcasts on Monday.